professor of torture in different countries, starting with the United States in the time of the War of Vietnam, in Chile, in Brazil, in Argentina.
But in 2002, General Osores found himself in court for writing a book about his experiences in Algeria. Aged 83, he received a suspended sentence, not for torturing, but for trying to justify his use of torture in Algeria 50 years ago.
J'ai pensé que j'étais trahi. Eh bien, on m'a retiré ma Légion d'honneur. C'est le président de la République lui-même qui a dit qu'il fallait me punir de façon exemplaire. Voilà. I don't ask for forgiveness. Not a question of forgiveness. I did my duty, but I'm not afraid. I'm thinking that I would meet God and ask forgiveness, not at all. That's all.
Don't ask me for a favor. Don't ask me for a plea. I'll only do your bidding if you stop cajoling me.
I have orders and objectives which I have to carry out. The Geneva Convention does not concern me.
Soviet interrogator Gavril Korotkov believes the key to interrogation is psychology. Rather than attacking the prisoner's body, like the French in Algeria, he targeted their minds.
It's like an art, the art of love. Not just love, but you have to know how to love. You have to approach the subject so you can attract it, possess it, and take it further.
You are not prisoners. You are students. We give you the chance to study and to learn the truth, to show you how your leaders entangle the people in a web of lies.
This film, made by the British Army, warned soldiers about a revolutionary style of interrogation employed by the communists during the Korean War. The West was alarmed at the large number of their prisoners of war who collaborated with the enemy. So apparently successful was the technique that a new term, brainwashing, was coined.
The communists want peace. What about your people at home? Your mothers and fathers, your wives? Don't they want peace?
Of course the North Koreans and Chinese had their own methods, but under our supervision. We had 2 camps in Russia where these methods were tested.
Korotkov was a member of a Soviet undercover interrogation unit sent to Korea to help their North Korean and Chinese allies. Part of his mission was to oversee the interrogation of American prisoners who'd experienced the communist psychological techniques.
Yes, it was brainwashing. Yes, they were. They were really conditioning us to answer. When we were asked a question, we were little trained dogs and we responded.
We were to take off, climb to 10,000 feet, and proceed to the target. Over the target, dive from 10,000 to 6,000.
You got to understand, this was a confession that we'd been working on for 2 months. It wasn't something spontaneous off the top of my head.
These men took the bombs out of this closed truck and loaded them by hand. Normally, they've got a jack.
Paul Niss, an American pilot, sees for the first time film of himself taken after he was shot down and captured in 1952. In it, he confesses to using germ warfare against North Korea. His confession was the culmination of 16 months of interrogation during solitary confinement.
Oh, I was definitely tortured in Korea, you betcha. They'd slap me whatever they wanted to do. And Well, then they started going around the clock in different shifts. They just kept bugging me, you know.
If you're deprived of sleep for one day, you can deal with it, but after 2 days, hardly anyone can deal with it.
They even tried the good guy, bad guy routine. I mean, you don't even like the good guys. And they promised me everything I could want, money, women. I could go to Russia, I could go to any of the Eastern countries that I wanted to and live. And they offered me the sun, the moon, and the stars. After 6 weeks or so, they started in on this bug warfare thing. I said, well, I don't know anything about bug bombs or anything about them. And he says, no, you had to do it. You were there in the same outfit. You had to be on this germ warfare case. I says, absolutely not. The days leading up to my confession, I completely lost it. All I remember is just this insatiable desire to sleep. That's all I want to do is sleep, get some peace and quiet.
When someone starts to lose control of his mind, he starts to talk about everything. He doesn't understand what he can and can't say.
At the end, I was said my mother's a prostitute if it would help.
I forgot to mention on the germ bombs that we could tell them they were germ bombs from an ordinary bomb was the loading time. The germ bombs were loaded 15 minutes before our mission, while ordinarily our aircraft were loaded 2 hours or more before a mission.
1 in 7 American POWs collaborated with the communists during the Korean War. Most of them, like Paul Niss, were confused rather than converted. But Britain and America were influenced by the psychological interrogation methods which brought about these confessions.
Did they break me? Yes, they broke me. They can break anybody. It's just a matter of how bad they want you. You just feel like you're the worst traitor in the world when you do it. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you, Lieutenant Niss.
They can call it what they like. I was there. It was damn torture. Sheer, unadulterated torture.
In August 1971, the British government subjected 12 of its own citizens to interrogation practices derived from the communists in Korea. It was part of the British Army's response to growing terrorist violence by the IRA.
These people, so far as the army were concerned, was a military organization. And therefore, just in much the same way as the military organizations that had interrogated us in Kenya, Aden, so it was felt at the time that these people should be put through an interrogation. The problem that they faced all of a sudden is they didn't like the big boys' rules.
Those selected for interrogation in depth had hoods placed over their heads and were flown to a secret army location.
We hear the helicopter sound, we drag toward the helicopter, the blades flying. Jesus, they're going to throw us out of the helicopter, you know, they're going to take us up and throw us out of the helicopter.
The soldiers that were there were saying to me, you're going out here, you're getting killed here. We'll see how far we can get you to drop.
Watching was Ray Derrick, an army sergeant guarding the interrogation centre.
The helicopter was hovering, maybe only a foot, but they actually give the guy a push.
And I'm taking him brought to the back of the helicopter, and I'm just thrown out.
He didn't know whether he was 100 feet up, 200 feet up, or 6 inches up. I thought it was amusing at the time. It's not so funny now.
And immediately seized upon, picked up, and I'm actually carried shoulder high. I believe I'm carried shoulder and passed through a window. and then brought in and up against the wall, and that was the start of 7 days.